I would like you to, I want to assess how much you have been reading, you know. The olfactory nerve. Olfactory nerve. Table 1. Which part of the brain is the olfactory nerve connected to? Table 2. Is the olfactory nerve connected to? No, not the septal area, not the amygdala. Alright, give me in a big way. Not in the fine detail, but in a very general way. What is the olfactory nerve connected to? The limbic? No. The olfactory nerve is connected to the telencephalon. The telencephalon. Remember that the olfactory nerve is the only nerve that is connected to the telencephalon. The optic nerve is connected to what? The diencephalon, because it is going to the thalamus. The third cranial nerve is connected to the mesencephalon, midbrain. So 1, olfactory to the telencephalon, 2, to the diencephalon. Remember, it goes to LGB, which is thalamus. And 3, oculomotor is going to the mesencephalon. And remember that all the rest, from 3 to 12, are all connected to the brain stem. So the mesencephalon has both 3 and 4. 3 and 4 coming from the midbrain, 3 from the level of the superior colliculus and 4 from the level of the inferior colliculus. 5 is directly on the 5 is directly on what? Pons. Remember we said the position where it is a landmark for what? The position of 5 on the pons is a landmark for 2 things. You have to go to your book for that, man. I expect you to just tell me from your base. The position of 5 on the pons marks a junction, marks a marking line for what? For what belongs to pons and what belongs to peduncle. You go lateral to where the nerve is coming up, you're in middle peduncle territory. You come medial to it, you're in pontine territory. 6 comes out between the pyramid and pons. 7 between the, 6, 7, and 8 come from between the pons and the medulla. Which one? The 6? That's the main thing. It's the junction. It's the landmark. On medial to it is pons. Lateral to 5 is the peduncle. Right. So pons and peduncle. 2 P's. 6, 7, and 8, remember the leaf between the pons and medulla. So at that junction, the cross junction between pons above, medulla below, you have 6, 7, 8 leaving. And then as you come down now, 9, 10, and 11, they are leaving from the post-olivary sulcus, and 12 is leaving from the between the pyramid and the olive. So anterior to the olive, the sulcus is going to be 12. Posterior to the olive, that sulcus is going to take 9, 10, and 11. Alright? Now, we were looking at 5 before. I want to just remind me something about 5, because what is special about 5? Tell me a couple things special about 5. Fifth cranial nerve. It has 3 outputs, or three connections, 3 big connections, but more than that. What is special about the cranial nerve 5? Tell me something special about it that differentiates it from all other cranial nerves. Very extensive nucleus. It has the most extensive nucleus of all the cranial nerves, because that nucleus extends from where to where? From midbrain to upper spinal cord. So in the spinal cord, what is it that deals with fifth nerve business? In the spinal cord, what deals with fifth nerve business? The business of the fifth nerve is big on what? Pain, P-A-I-N. Yes, more than anything else, big on pain. Pain is very important, because it's the modality that tells you that there is damage. If you have pain, there is injury to something. So the fifth cranial nerve takes care of basically the whole head. The fifth cranial nerve, the biggest part of the head in terms of sensory input, is coming through the cranial nerve, the whole of the face, right back to how far on the scalp? Whole of the face, whole of the scalp, except for a little area at the back, is dealt with by the fifth cranial nerve. Sensation. What is it that helps it at the back? Eleven. You're really terrible, You're terrible. 11 don't have a thing to do with any sensation. Alright? 11 nerve is what? Spinal accessory. It don't have anything to do with pain. It's basically motor. Big on motor. I mean, it has a little proprioceptive stuff, but that's proprioceptive, not really pain as such. So what is it that helps out 5 at the back? Yes, second cervical nerve, and let us say 2 and 3 helps it out at the back. But most of it is sensory, is coming through 5. So the fifth cranial nerve is very important as far as pain in the head is concerned. Whether it's coming from the meninges, which is the inside part of the brain, or the outside part of the scalp. Out inside the box or outside the box. 5 is the big pickup. Alright, for pain. Yes. Okay, now the places where it leaves. Where are the branches? What are the branches? Branches of 5. That should be coming out from you like when water boiling over the pot. Just running over. What are the branches of 5? Ophthalmic, maxillary, mandibular. Good. And where are the places that they leave the skull? Ophthalmic leaves through the superior orbital fissure. Maxillary leads through rotundum, ovale leads through. You're getting me confused now. So standing room only. Standing room only. Standing room only. Standing superior orbital fissure, room, rotundum, only ovale. Alright? Good. So ophthalmic is coming through superior orbital fissure. What are the branches up there? What are the branches of ophthalmic in the NFL, National Football League? Sorry? So what are those branches? The nasociliary, the frontal, and the lacrimal. The lacrimal is lateral. Remember that. And it is going to take up sensory data from where? The lacrimal is lateral. It's going to pick up from where? Sensory stuff from where? From the... Or is it that the lacrimal is secretomotor? Is it secretomotor to the lacrimal gland? Please tell me. Not at all. Not at all. It goes to the lacrimal gland, but it goes to give sensory data. So if there is any damage to the lacrimal gland and you're having pain in the lacrimal gland, the lacrimal nerve will pick it up. But the lacrimal nerve is not involved in secretion from the lacrimal gland. Which nerve will help with secretion from the lacrimal gland? Which one? Which cranial nerve? Which cranial nerve will help with secretion of the lacrimal gland? 7 cranial nerve. It has to be a cranial nerve which is secretomotor and nerve which is parasympathetic. The nerve 5 have anything to do with that. It's not a parasympathetic nerve. Cranial nerve 5 is not a parasympathetic nerve. Parasympathetic nerves of the cranial nerves that are parasympathetic are 3, 7, 9, and 10. So the secretion from the lacrimal gland is coming through the 7th cranial nerve, and it will come by its linkage with the branch from the zygomaticofacial and the zygomaticotemporal. One of those branches is going to give off a side connection that will go up to the lacrimal gland, but it is a branch of 7, not of 5. 5 don't understand what to do with the lacrimal gland. Okay? 5 has some motor nerves, but what do those motor nerves feed? 5 has some motor nerves, but what do those motor nerves supply? Muscles of mastication. It can only know how to bite. But don't tell it what to do with secretion. It don't understand those things. Those things too high for it. It only involved with sensory signals and special motor signals, which are dealing with food. They will run with the nerve, but they are not rooted in a 5 business. Oh, he was just wondering about the branches that run with the zygomaticotemporal and zygomaticofacial. The branches of 7 that run with it. They run with it. It's like a situation of the lingual nerve. The lingual nerve and the anterior part of the tongue. The lingual nerve is a branch of what? Lingual nerve is a branch from the maxillary, from the what? From the mandibular, yes. Remember that the mandibular branch has 2 divisions, an anterior division and a posterior division. The anterior is motor, the posterior is sensory. But the sensory fibers just deal with sensation, which is like pain and temperature. You follow? But for the tongue, it will pick up sensation from the tongue, from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. The lingual will run in there and supply the tongue. But secretomotor is another business. Secretomotor is cauda tympani, and the cauda tympani runs with the lingual nerve. But that's all. They are just running together. So the same thing with the zygomaticofacial and zygomaticotemporal and the branches that come through the vagus. They are running together, but they are not coming from the same location. So the zygomaticofacial and zygomaticotemporal, they are branches of the maxillary. No, they are just sensory. Pure sensory, yes. They just run with branch of the facial secretomotor branches, but those secretomotor fibers are really parasympathetic fibers. You get it? The branches that are going to the to the lacrimal gland are secretomotor. So they are not sensory. You get that part? You get me? Sorry. Remember that this discussion in this class is not a one-way discussion. Alright? I don't want it to be a one-way. I want you to give me some feedback. So feel free. If there is anything at all that, you don't think that is so, as it were. To bring it up so we can kind of trash it out. Because that's how you are going to learn, how you're going to remember. Zygomaticofacial and temporal are coming from the maxillary nerve. Yes, they are coming from maxillary. Yeah. The maxillary is going to give off zygomaticofacial, zygomaticotemporal. Infraorbital, as it is running in infraorbital on the floor thing, is going to give off a branch. One go forward, one go upwards. Okay? Secretomotor is facial. The zygomaticofacial, zygomaticotemporal, some of them are going to be sensory. Yes. But they are running with. Run.
Let me just put it this way and then go through it and tell me if I'm wrong, okay?
So,
okay, look.
Now,
This is maxillary.
Maxillary, right? And in which you have parasympathetic fibers from the cerebrospinal and ganglia.
Right.
And when the zygomatic nerve enters the orbit, those parasympathetic fibers come off the zygomatic nerve and hitchhikes the lacrimal nerve,
Definitely.
which is from the octave division.
Right.
Right? And then the zygomatic nerve divides into 2 sensory branches, zygomaticotemporal and zygomaticofacial.
Right.
They go entirely out of the area of the lacrimal gland. One goes here, one goes into the infratemporal fossa. The lacrimal gland is here.
Right.
So the parasympathetic fibers reach the lacrimal gland as hitchhiking fibers
Definitely.
along with the lacrimal nerve.
Very good. You get that?
So those,
What Doc said there is just perfect.
so those parasympathetic they're not
No, man. No. Once you say parasympathetic,
At that point,
yeah,
after this parasympathetic nerve keeps acting lacrimal, that lacrimal now becomes both sensory and parasympathetic. The parasympathetic fibers separate the gland, the sensory fibers separate the lateral part of the upper lid, a little bit of the lower lid,
right,
but conjunctiva on the lateral aspect, both inside, that is part of the conjunctiva.
So does the facial nerve also supply secret emotional, or it's just the diagonal?
So,
Okay, all right.
so look
Here
on.
go palatine ganglion receiving parasympathetic fibers through the median nerve, which is greater petrosal and deep petrosal. The greater petrosal is the parasympathetic fibers from the geniculate ganglion, which is the seventh nerve.
Oh,
So seventh nerve supplies the lacrimal gland. So you
Right.
have to stretch backwards. You
yes.
learned that in your second semester and forgot.
so zygomatic facial temporal are sensory.
So see,
Okay,
this is-
listen to Dr. Laws.
Alright, so the same thing. This is the lacrimal nerve. This lacrimal nerve is coming from where?
Imagery.
So that's V1, right?
Right,
This is V2, which is what? Maxillary. Stuck onto maxillary is the pterygopalatine ganglion.
right,
Alright? So it's the lacrimal nerve doesn't have any parasympathetic fibers in it. Right? It has to get it piggybacked from somewhere.
definitely.
Alright? So it gets piggybacked onto this ganglion, it's the pterygopalatine ganglion. How does it get there? This is a facial nerve right here.
Right,
So facial nerve at the genu will give off the greater petrosal will then join with the deep petrosal, blah blah blah, you get your median nerve going to pterygopalatine ganglion. So if you trace parasympathetic now, this is parasympathetic going this way into the ganglion, synapse in here, then you get post-ganglion fibers going. This is now called the terminal part of the maxillary, which is zygomatic nerve. So it's piggybacking in the zygomatic nerve, then there's a communication with the lacrimal nerve.
right,
Terminal branches of the zygomatic nerve is temporal and facial.
right,
So there are no parasympathetic fibers in the terminal branches of the zygomatic nerve. They are purely sensory. They are not going anywhere near the lacrimal fossa there.
yes,
So they can't help.
right. So you get it now. So when you talk, I think what happens is that the confusion is there is sometimes confusion because of how the texts are written, but yes, but it's not really a confusion in the sense that
There is no confusion.
yes, you have to think in terms of where the nerve is coming from because the nerves have more than one nucleus. You follow? Some of the nerves have more than one nucleus. So therefore it's rich in a lot of stuff. We'll see it later on when we're talking about 9 and 10. Okay, let's talk a little bit about we talk about facial just now.
What did the a question what nerve gives
The secretomotor fibers in the lacrimal nerve. Full stop.
Okay?
Not the sensory nerves.
Yes.
So they don't relate back to facial nerve.
Yeah, but if somebody
They
asks
can
you,
ask me
You
facial
say where
nerve.
they are coming from. Facial nerve. Beyond the geniculate ganglion. After that you get several things. Geniculate ganglion, greater petrosal nerve, median nerve, ganglion.
so you have to trace it from the nucleus first. Superior
Right.
salivatory nucleus,
You
to
have
facial nerve, and then to that. So what you have to do is read facial nerve first.
come on, they know it already.
Alright.
They read it in the second semester.
Okay. Let us so remind me now about tithe mandibular branch. Give me a rundown on tithe mandibular branch. Start. Table 2. Where does it leave? Table 2. Where does the mandibular nerve leave it leaves through foramen ovale. Good. So when it comes through as a what? What do you call that? Piece that comes through. A trunk comes through as a trunk. And then that trunk is going to give off at least 2 branches. The trunk is going to give off a sensory branch which will go back into the skull and supply the meninges. So it will give off a meningeal branch. And then that same trunk will give off a motor branch that will go to the medial pterygoid muscle. That branch to the medial pterygoid will supply 2 tensors. Tensor veli palatini and tensor tympani. You get that? What will tensor veli palatini do in action? It will tense the palate, right? It will tense the palate. And the other one is going to work on the tensor tympani. Where is the tensor tympani? In the head. Okay, good. Alright, so after doing that, then it's going to divide into 2 branches. An anterior branch and a posterior branch. The anterior branch is mostly like the spinal cord. What is that? Anterior branch. Motor, big on motor. Just like the roots of the spinal cord, the anterior root is motor. Similarly, so the anterior division is going to be chiefly motor, except for one little difference. In that it will also have one little sensory nerve, which is the buccal nerve, sometimes called long buccal nerve. And even that long buccal nerve has a motor branch too. But if you just remember, it's big on motor, little on sensory. That's the anterior division. The posterior division is the converse. It's big on sensory and little on motor. Posterior is like the posterior root of the spinal cord. Big on sensory, little on motor. So let's talk about the anterior branch. The anterior, or rather the anterior division. The anterior division is going to the muscles of mastication. What are those muscles of mastication? The masseter, the pterygoid, the temporalis. Okay? So those are your big biters. And the anterior division takes care of them. And the small posterior branch is the buccal branch, which is sensory to the mucosa of the side of the mouth, the cheek. The posterior division, we said, is big on sensory and small on motor business. The long buccal is a sensory. That's the only sensory to the mucosa of cheek. The posterior branch, we said, is big on sensation. So it will give off, it will supply, it will pick up fibers that are represented in the auriculotemporal nerve, the lingual nerve, the inferior alveolar nerve, which is going into the jawbone. So the inferior alveolar, the lingual to the tongue, the auriculotemporal, those are big sensory nerves. So all of those will feed into the posterior root. And then there is one little motor connection in the posterior root, and that's the, which one? Left to mile high, right? Good. And mile high, represents the division between the, what is supra. In a way, it is the floor of the mouth. Okay? So above that and below, we have mile high as a partition muscle. And the anterior and posterior divisions of the mandibular nerve. The mandibular nerve has a trunk which gives off the meningeal branch and a branch to medial pterygoid, which supplies the tensors, tensor tympani, tensor palatii. That trunk then divides into an anterior division, which is mostly motor, except for one little branch, and a posterior branch, which is mostly sensory, except for one little branch. Right. So anteriorly, we have the muscles of mastication supplied, temporalis, temporal, pterygoids, masseter, and one little sensory, which is the buccal, long buccal. And then posterior division now going to give off your lingual, your auriculotemporal, your inferior alveolar, and one little motor branch, which is the left to mile high. So this here is going to pick up the inferior alveolar, right? And it's going to run through this opening, this foramen right here. It's going to run, supply all of the molars, the premolars, the canines, the incisors, right? Supply them with sensory fibers. And it will give off one little branch here, which is the mental branch. And that will kind of deal with lip, lower lip and so on. Good. That's inferior alveolar. But even before it goes into the foramen, it will give off a branch which comes inferiorly and supplies the mylohyoid. Mylohyoid line is right here, and the mylohyoid muscle is attached to it. So that is the motor part that is coming from the posterior division of the mandibular nerve. Okay? The maxillary nerve, remind me about that. You can tell me about it. Maxillary nerve. I'm going to run through which foramen? Rotunda, and then it will go to where? When it runs through rotunda, where is it on its way to? Oh, you know that already. You don't need to run over that. So where it runs to? Goes into the pterygopalatine fossa, and in the pterygopalatine fossa is going to have suspended from it what is suspended from the maxillary nerve in the pterygopalatine fossa? A ganglion, which is the submandibular ganglion? Pterygopalatine. I mean, after all, the thing says pterygopalatine fossa. So, it will make sense for the pterygopalatine ganglion to be inside that fossa and no other ganglion. Alright, so it is inside here, and it divides inside there. And when it divides in there, it gives branches to all the fellows that are leaving the maxillary nerve. You with me? The maxillary nerve has a big job to do. It's in the pterygopalatine area, and it has to pick up sensation for the whole nasal cavity. Pick up sensation can only be picked up. The ganglion is suspended from it, but that does mean it's hanging on to it. In the pterygopalatine fossa, we have the pterygopalatine ganglion suspended from the maxillary nerve. So he's hanging on there. Okay? Right. And the maxillary nerve is going places. Where's the maxillary nerve going? What's close to the pterygopalatine fossa? What cavities are nearby? Mouth and nose. Mouth and nose. Mouth and nose need some sensation. Right. So it is very convenient for the pterygopalatine ganglion outputs to follow along wherever maxillary nerve has branches. You with me? Boy, you look so like you thought you're not thinking. Like you slept or you were awake for the whole night and you had a big lunch and you can't even think. Huh? The maxillary nerve is in the pterygopalatine ganglion, and suspended from it is a ganglion. Now, the suspension it is not that there is anything in the maxillary nerve that is the maxillary nerve is like a wire hanging across the place, and suspended from it is the pterygopalatine ganglion. The pterygopalatine ganglion is where you have some synapses going on, and some postganglionics are leaving from that area. So you have some cholinergic stuff being released inside that ganglion. Some ACH is being released. And post-ACH, you have some postganglionic fibers. What these postganglionic fibers are doing are running with the maxillary branches. So that wherever maxillary nerve is going, I am there too. Because maxillary nerve is going to deal with the nose and the mouth. The back of the mouth has some fibers coming down on it. What are those fibers that go down to the back of the mouth? Back of the mouth. Back of the palate. What do you have behind there? Huh? I'm not hearing. Pharyngeal plexus. It's good that you talk, you know. It's so good that you talk. But, you see, because it's very important. When you say pharyngeal plexus, you're totally wrong. But I'm happy that you said that. Because pharyngeal plexus is motor. Pharyngeal plexus, when you think of pharyngeal plexus, think of motor business. When you think of the back of the mouth and maxillary nerve, think about those greater palatine and lesser palatine that is running down in the bone behind them. You don't remember them? Yes, they're coming down to feed the back of the mouth. The greater palatine, lesser palatine from the maxillary. They're going to come down. You're going to have some shooting across on the nasal bridge, nasal septum. Posterior, superior, lateral, nasal. All of those are coming from maxillary. So it's rich inside there. And those are going to places like inside the sinuses. Inside the sinuses, what you have? What kind of respiratory epithelium you have inside there? Respiratory type epithelium. And they have mucus inside there. So it means that even inside there, you have to have your pterygopalatine ganglion branches. You get it? So inside the sinuses, you need to have some secretions, right? And the maxillary nerve will go inside there, but it can only pick up pain. So if you're having a toothache and so on, or you have any problem with your maxillary sinus, the maxillary nerve will pick up the sensation, but in terms of secretion and producing water and all that kind of stuff, you need parasympathetic for that. You get it? So it is very convenient for the maxillary nerve to be in the pterygopalatine ganglion, so that whenever all these posterior ethmoidals and anterior ethmoidals, whatever they are, that are coming off, the secretomotor fibers of the can be with them. You understand? So I was asking him about the branches from at the back of the mouth, from the maxillary nerve. To the back, From, yes, right, yeah. Yes, yes. Well, what we were really talking about fifth nerve, contribution from the fifth nerve. So when you're thinking about fifth nerve, don't think about pharyngeal plexus. You hear me? 9, posterior is 9, yes. Right. Yeah, but 5 is not a part of the plexus. When you talk about pharyngeal plexus, you're thinking about constrictors and the superior constrictor in middle and so on, and the motor supply to them, as well as secretomotor to the ganglion on the inside, the mucosa and so on. You get it? But not 5. Don't put 5 inside it, because 5 is basically sensory, picking up sensation. You with me? You alright? That's that. Yes. So greater and lesser palatine, it will come down and come to the back of the palate or top. Right, sensory. And pure sensory, nothing else. Yeah. 6, remind me about 6. Sorry? Maxillary nerve. Yes. Maxillary nerve is pure sensory. It don't have a thing to do with motor. As a matter of fact, you could say the same thing about the ophthalmic too. Maxillary branch, ophthalmic branch are purely sensory. They don't have any motor things in them. But mandibular has some motor, and those motor are to the muscles of mastication. The ophthalmic and maxillary nerves are purely sensory. You get it? Let me repeat it. Ophthalmic and maxillary are purely sensory. They have no motor supply. They don't go to muscles. Whereas the mandibular has both, is mixed. It has sensory and motor. Sixth cranial nerve, we said, leaves the junction of the pons and the pyramid. And when it leaves, it runs forward runs up on the it runs up on this thing here. Why do you call this place here? Sure. Yes, this thing here is what? This area here. It's a little too. This thing here. What is this thing here, man? What is this here? Okay, this is fifth nerve, This fifth nerve, it is going to the cavum trigeminale, dura coming through here. That beyond here is going to be Meckel's cave, right? But running up right on this place there. What's the name of this place? Clivus. So 6 is going to leave the PP junction. This little fellow running up here. This fellow here. That is 6. he runs up on the clivus. So he has this is where the pons, the belly of the pons is going to be here. So the basilar pons, he's going to run in the subarachnoid space. And then he's going to pierce the dura, and then he's going to go laterally. Now, in this vicinity, he's behind the dorsum celling. So he's going to pierce the dura and shoot underneath the petroclinoid ligament of Gruber and end up in the caverna sinus. Okay? And then he's going to... No, that's a... Yes. Yes, yes. Beside the carotid. Right. So here is the 6 going up here. Right. So 6 gets into the caverna sinus and then runs across. In the caverna sinus is close to what? Is it on the lateral wall? 6. When it goes through the caverna sinus, is it on the lateral wall? No, it's not on the lateral wall. Where is it? It's within the sinus. It is close to a big artery which is going to the sinus. Right, the internal carotid. So it's close to the artery. And then 6 runs forward. When you leave caverna sinus, where's the big other place you're going to? You leave caverna sinus, which is on the side. Here. Next place is going to be superior orbital fissure. So 6 is going into the orbital fissure, and when he goes through the orbital fissure, he has 2 choices. What are the choices he has? In the orbital fissure, he has 2 choices. What can he do? Well, in the superior orbital fissure, there are 2 places to pass. What will we find inside the fissure? Right, you can either go in the annulus, which is medial, or you can go to the narrow part of the fissure, which is outside of the annulus. So you can either go through the annulus or outside of the annulus. Which you're going to choose for 6? Which one are you choosing for 6? Sorry, the side. Remember, the only fellow that goes on the side is... Oh, I'm sorry. But the only fellow that goes on the side is which one? Trochlea. Trochlea goes outside of the ring. And 6 goes inside the ring. So 3 and 6 go inside the ring within the annulus. And they are going to feed the muscles from the orbital side. From inside the orbital part of the muscle. Whereas 4 is going to feed it from the outside because it's coming on the outside. It's going to feed from the dorsal side in the superior oblique. You with me? You don't look as if you're with me. You got that? You got that? Okay. So the lateral rectus, little muscle, leave between pons and pyramid, runs up on the clivus, shoot through the dura, into the caverna sinus.